Hi, I'm Kathleen Rasmussen, and I am reading out of the Real Life Stories book. And today we're in chapter 45. The title is, What Do I Have to Live For? What do I have to live for? Who really cares about me? Where is the positive example that I am supposed to learn from? My life, I thought, was always pretty simple. I grew up going to church, and I honor my parents for raising me in church, although the relationship didn't always reflect the Christian life. I cannot remember many details in my younger years, as most people can, and still do not understand why sometimes. I do remember all the arguing, fighting, threatening, and disrespect that went on in my home. I remember many nights not even sleeping at all because of the intense arguing. Many times I remember standing in the middle of my parents all night long, crying out loud for them to stop and keeping them from literally killing each other. I tried to run away many times. I always came back quickly because I loved my parents so much. I couldn't stand to think that something might happen. I thought, if I'm not there, who's going to stop them from hurting each other? I witnessed an attempted suicide and remember so clearly the emotional impact that it had on me at the time. I remember the times the police were called, and I was so embarrassed for my parents' actions. They didn't seem to care about the effect it would have on their kids. I never had any friends over at my house because no one ever cared about how our house looked or was kept up. There were rooms in my house that I had never seen before. I think I had the neatest room in the house all the time. I had 2 older brothers and 2 older sisters, but they had the opportunity to have friends over because things weren't so bad in the house at that time. To my understanding, my parents always had problems that my older brothers and sisters had to deal with, but never to the magnitude that it became when I was in my teen years. Well, thank God I never got involved in drugs or alcohol, although I hung around friends that did. I always went to church and had a passion for music. I began playing the drums when I was 8 and played in some pretty heavy rock bands as I got older in high school. My friends lived for getting wasted on alcohol and or drugs and having sex with as many chicks as they could. I began dating a lot and having a lot of sex. It was the thing to do, and once you start, it's really difficult to stop. I didn't think about consequences when I was with my friends. When I was alone, though, I knew what was right and wrong in my life. Many times I didn't seem to care about my life. I considered suicide many times. I thought, well, my parents hate each other. It seems that they hate me. I'm sleeping with girls that don't really care about me or my life. What do I have to live for? Who really cares about me? My siblings had other problems in their lives as a result of the lack of positive examples. I, on the other hand, held on to one thing that I learned from the consistency of going to church. God cares and loves you when it seems that no one else does. It always seemed that no matter what I did or where I was, God was always there giving me a choice. He always seemed to provide a path of escape, but it was always up to me to choose and follow that path. Sometimes I chose the wrong path, but most of the time I chose to take the right path. I have seen in my family's life what happens when you choose the wrong path. I didn't want that in my life. I learned that in every situation you have a choice to make. You can allow that situation to mirror those same problems in your own life, or you can allow it to make you a better person and learn from other people's mistakes. Well, one of those times that God gave me a path of escape was when I was playing in a heavy metal band. I had long bushy hair and one of those jean jackets with all kinds of pins and patches on it of all the bands that became my idols. It was the trend then, really. I was dating a girl at the time that had an uncle that sang in a Southern gospel group, and they were looking for a drummer. My girlfriend mentioned this to me, and I was still going to church and knew of that style of music. I agreed to meet with them and check it out. Now picture this. A Southern gospel group interested in a heavy metal drummer with long hair, and a long-haired heavy metal drummer interested in playing for a Southern gospel group. It sounds crazy, but I now see God in that part of my life. Well, they wanted me to try out with them, and I accepted. I began playing for them and continued to for about 7 years, and went on to record in Nashville 2 successful projects. It kept me in God's righteous path. God knew my passion at the time. He knew what excited me and made me happy. After that, I pretty much stayed on that path. I continued to play the drums on the church praise team, got involved in youth ministry at my church, and worked hard. I knew that although my childhood wasn't what I had wished it to be, I am in charge of my life now. The choices that I make determine my future. I had always felt the tug of God in my life to be what He wants me to be. Yet I really never gave it all to Him. The routine of going to church helped me stay on the right path, but that wasn't what was the most important. The most important thing was my relationship with God and what I did outside of the church. What I was doing in my everyday life, my consistency, my attitude, my outlook, my integrity. What you do behind closed doors where nobody sees is what matters most to God. I began living my life that way. No, I'm still not perfect. I still make mistakes. But when I gave my life to Jesus Christ and allowed Him to have His way in my life, He began to guide my life in every way. I still go through sorrows and hard times, but I know that God is right there with me. I know that He will bring me out of it as long as I continue to trust in Him and live according to His word and His ways.